everyone, and welcome back to Sports Break, the podcast. I am super excited to have Mark Milne joining me today. Mark is from a small coastal town in northeast Scotland. He's a full-time mechanical design engineer with over 30 years of experience in the oil and gas industry in Scotland, and is a racket sports enthusiast. He's played tennis, squash, and badminton all at a county level, and is the creator of 3030 Tennis, which is an alternative shorter scoring format to fast four, tiebreak tens, and Patrick Mouratoglou, sorry if there's a mispronunciation there, Ultimate Tennis Showdown. So Mark, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Hi, many thanks to you, Ashley. Yeah, much appreciated. And yeah, nice to get to speak to you. Thanks for inviting me on.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to hear about 3030, this thing you've created. Before we get there, though, I'd love to hear just kind of your journey and personal love story with racket sports. How did you get involved and what do you still play today?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah, well, it's a long story as I'm an old guy now. I'm heading for a big birthday. I'm going to be 60 in January. But yeah, my tennis background goes back to 1972, believe it or not. I was on holiday down south in the south of Britain, and Wimbledon was on the television, and the final between Stan Smith and Ilie Nastase was played. I think it was a Sunday afternoon, if I remember, and we were in a small hotel that had a small black and white television, and the match was a 5-setter, and Stan Smith won the match. Following that, we went to the nearest supermarket or wherever you can buy a cheap tennis racket, and the family went and booked a court. It was in Scarborough, and it was grass courts, believe it or not. And yeah, that started my journey for tennis. We came back from holiday to Arbroath. There's a local club just round the corner. I went along and joined. And yeah, I'm still a member there for almost 50 years. Had a real love affair with tennis. In Scotland, the weather's not great during the winter months. So what you did back then was that you played outdoor tennis in the summer. But when the winter months came along, I started playing squash and badminton, obviously, because they were indoors. And I was very fortunate. I was reasonably gifted and quite talented. So I was reasonably successful over the years playing for the teams, getting my name on a number of cups and so on. So yeah, all racket sports, played a bit of table tennis. Now I've got a bit too old for the tennis. This is the reason for the shorter format. Basically, the court was getting a bit big, the winter months not great, and so on. And also squash begins to be quite a hard game to play as you get older. So I moved on to a game called touch tennis. A lot of people might remember what was called short tennis. It was developed in about the 1980s, really for kids to play. It was with a sponge ball, with a plastic bat. It was played indoors on a badminton court over a low net. So I played a bit of short tennis back then, but I found out that they developed a faster sponge ball and they named it touch tennis. You still played indoors on a badminton court over a low net. You now used a 21-inch strung tennis racket, like a junior tennis racket, and the sponge ball was significantly better. It was more dense, it was slightly heavier, it would bounce a bit higher, and it was significantly faster. So 4 or 5 years ago, I started playing this a couple of times a week, and that's what I play now. And from that's how the 30-30 scoring format has been developed. Normally, when you book a court indoors, you get 1 hour to play. So you've got your 1 hour to play a match. I suppose it's similar outside. You typically will book a court for an hour. When we started playing, we were using the traditional scoring format, and regularly we would not finish the best of 3 sets match in the hour. And it wasn't great. You know, at the end of a session, you want to have a winner and you want to have a loser. You know, it's a sport for that. You didn't like coming off unfinished with a drawn match. So as a kid, I remember during junior training, the coaches had used the technique of starting games at 30 all to give you more experience of playing the big points. So you would go on, just play a normal set of tennis, but every game started at 30 all instead of love all. So when we started doing this for the touch tennis, it worked really well. There was a wee bit of experimenting with the change of ends. We have doubled up the change of ends. Instead of just playing one game, change ends, playing another 2 games and change ends, so on. We found you were changing ends too quickly. So we've doubled that up, that you actually play 2 games, you change ends, You'll then play 4 games, change ends, and so on. You still serve alternatively, but we've doubled up the change of ends. So yes, within an hour, we were playing best of 3 sets matches, and I began to think I've actually got something here that's a bit unique. I was aware of cricket. They have a format called 2020, which is it's taken the cricket world, by storm. It's making lots of money, and it's a shorter format. Instead of the matches lasting, for example, 5 days as the test matches do, or the 1-day internationals that last a whole day, 2020 is a match that's played in about 3 to 4 hours. It's half the time, and it's been very successful. So when I looked at starting games at 30 all and wrote down the score 30-30, when you read that, it reads 30-30. So it was a no-brainer for me. The new format is going to be called 30-30, branded 30-30, like 2020 cricket, like, for example, fast 4 tennis, and so on. So yeah, that's how 30-30 came along. It was developed because I moved to playing indoors short tennis, touch tennis. I looked for a format that would complete a match in a shorter time. And the great thing about it, the game score ticks over so much more quickly. You get a lot of games that are potentially only 2 points. At 30 all, you can go 40-30 game. So you will get quicker games. You will get some games that will have multiple juices. You get a big range of length of games. But the important thing is the game score ticks over much more quickly. So you could be sort of at 4-2 after maybe 10 minutes play. Unlike traditional tennis, you can sometimes watch matches on the television and they've been playing half an hour and they're still at 2 all. So yeah, that's the beauty of it. It still feels like traditional tennis. You will still win a match by the same score. The one other thing that we changed was the tie break. In traditional tennis, the tie break that's played at 6 games all is a tie break to 7 points, and you've got to lead by 2 points. That's the typical tie break that's used at 6 games all. But there is an additional tie break, a shorter tie break in the rules of tennis that is being used. It was brought in when Fast 4 came in, and it's a tie break that's the best of 9 points. It's the first player to get to 5 points. So it's quite exciting. It's over in a maximum of 9 points. If you get to 4 all, you will have a deciding point to see who wins that set. So again, it stops a set of tennis going on forever and ever. It's a short, sharp end to a set that goes to 6 all. So yeah, that's 30-30 tennis. It's written the same. The first 30 is written in letters, and then the 30 at the end is in digits, the same way as 2020 cricket. It's been described as the younger sibling of 2020 cricket. We're trying to mark it on the back of 2020. It's been so successful. We feel that 30-30 could potentially do the same as 2020 has done for cricket, for tennis, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's amazing. And it does sound, I mean, it is a wild thing about tennis, is that sometimes it can take forever. And I always stand in amazement at the athletes, because I'm like, how are you doing this hours in? So yeah, especially for the person who is just trying to get in a game during their workday, or, on the weekend when they're with family. Yeah. So where did you started locally, I imagine. So how did you kind of start sharing the word or getting folks to try it out, and how do you grow?
Yeah, okay. The long and short of it is social media.
Okay.
I had to get my children, okay, they're not children anymore, they're all late 20s, early 30s, but they had to give me a crash course in using social media like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and mainly LinkedIn. LinkedIn has been fantastic because you can target people, you can select people who are tennis people in LinkedIn. So once I was up and running with a website and all the literature prepared and so on, I made contact with many, many people via LinkedIn, telling them about what I'd created, asking them to try it and to come back and let me know how they were doing. And on the website, I have a testimonials page that after people have tried it. They've come back to me and given me a testimonial. And I got up to just short of 300 when I realised this list's growing and growing. It's pointless. No one's ever going to look back at the first person that looked. So up to in 3 years, I think I got about 300 testimonials that are on the website that tell me that people have tried it. They say this is a great idea. A lot of people came back to me and said, this is nothing new. We've been using starting games at 30 all for years. And I knew that. It was used in training because obviously all the big points in tennis are around about 30 all, 40, 30 juice and so on. So I knew it was nothing new. And I went back and said, yeah, I realise this. But all I've done is I've taken it now and I've formalised it. I'm saying that this can be a competitive format. It's not just for training. It's a competitive format that's just been tidied up with in terms of the change of ends and the tie break. Everything else remains the same, and crucially, it's branded 3030. It says what it does on the can. My dream is that in 5, 10 years' time, when someone says 3030, they immediately know, that's the shorter format of tennis, where every game starts at 3030. Because yeah, I've tweaked. When you start a game at 30 all in traditional tennis, you would call out 30 all, but I've tweaked it a wee bit that when you start every game when you're playing 30-30 tennis, you actually call out 30-30. What it means is this differentiates it from traditional tennis. So if you're walking past the court and you see a couple of people playing and they call out 30-30, you know they're playing the shorter format basically, rather than leaving it at 30 all. So just a small thing to differentiate it. And yeah, it ticks a lot of the boxes. Many people have come back and said, yeah, this is great sort of style. So that gave me the confidence that I really do have something here that works. Prior to that, it was me and the girl that I hit with twice a week. We were the only two people in the world that were playing this competitively and testing it and so on. And I was a bit concerned, well, maybe it's just me, maybe it's just her that enjoy this. Let's find out if other people enjoy it. And yeah, I was given enough feedback to tell me that, yeah, we do have something here. And many sports are looking at shorter formats. And tennis, as we know, we already mentioned that Fast Four was created by Tennis Australia, where sets are played to 4 games. And when you get to juice, there's a no ad. You play a sudden death point at juice. So tennis has realised this. We see the tiebreak tens franchise being used where a match is a tiebreak to 10 points. And yeah, we mentioned that Patrick Mouratoglou has created his ultimate tennis showdown, where they play timed tennis. They play 4 quarters of 8 minutes. Each quarter is using tiebreak like scoring. And yeah, a match is over in about 45 minutes. So I'm not alone in trying something shorter. I've seen other sports, cricket is the main example, but the basketball are now in 3x3. The rugby are using rugby sevens. Many sports are trying to produce. They realise the youngsters of today will not sit for hours and hours and watch a 4 or 5 hour tennis match. They need something that's just shorter, a bit sharper, a bit faster moving, and a bit more exciting. So we feel, I have a business partner now. I hooked up with a gentleman, I'll call him a gentleman, Michael Reynolds. He's in South Africa. He has a lot of connections and he's worked in professional tennis his whole life. And as soon as he saw it, he realised that we have something here. So I now have a business partner and we're working together on rolling it out throughout the world, basically, using the format. And one of the applications of 3030 that we've created is a mixed team format. Tennis has tried this before with the Hopman Cup in local clubs and so on. You quite often get mixed teams. The World Team Tennis in America that Billie Jean King created and so on, there are mixed teams. So what we've done is we've combined the 3030 scoring format with a mixed team format where teams are comprising of 2 girls and 2 boys. They will all play 1 set matches using the 3030 scoring. So the first match that's played is a girls doubles, followed by a men's doubles, followed by a girls singles, followed by a boys singles, followed by a mixed doubles. There are 5 sets that are played. You allocate half an hour per set. So the whole event can be played out on one court in 2.5 hours. Or if you use 2 courts, it's completed in an hour and a half. And the other unique thing is that we've done with this, we have copied the Laver Cup's progressive match scoring format. I don't know if you follow the Laver Cup, but on day one, the matches that are played are worth 1 point. On day 2, the 4 matches that are played are each worth 2 points. And on day 3, the final day, all 4 matches are worth 3 points. What that does is it delays the outcome, the final outcome of the match, till as close to the end as possible. So what I've done is I've copied that. I've said the first 2 doubles matches will only be worth 1 point each. The 2 singles matches will both be worth 2 points each. And the final mixed doubles match will be worth 3 points each. With that format, it means a match is never over before the 4th match is completed, and more often than not, it will go to the final mixed doubles match. So we've called this 30-30 Big Smash Mixed Team Tennis. Again, it's taken from cricket. I don't play cricket, but I know cricket. Cricket's 2020 have a format called Big Bash, and they play leagues, and it's a league of using the shorter format. So instead of 2020 Big Bash cricket, we have got 30-30 Big Smash tennis, and it's a team format. So that's the way we're going to try and roll it out. We are looking to try and get the top players involved in playing leagues of that format. So it's an application of 30-30. You can obviously still hold women's singles, men's singles, and doubles and mixed using the 30-30 format, but we do see the team format as being quite a good thing. People like going along to watch teams. They like being part of teams, especially kids where there's 2 boys and 2 girls in the same team, and they're all competing to try and win. We see a big chance for that to take place sort of style. So
no, that's exciting. I mean, and I have an Aunt Bonnie, if you're listening, hi, but I have an aunt who plays tennis today still, and I think would love this idea, because it is a really cool thing where maybe people who can't play traditional tennis anymore, their bodies just can't do the endurance anymore. They have a new chance of playing a sport that they love. It's amazing. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's right. It takes away the physicality required. You know, the as you get older, you're not going to be as fit, and your body's not going to be able to last long matches. So it takes away a bit of the physicality. I still find the best of 3 sets still produces a good test. It's not luck or anything. You will still have to be reasonably fit and so on to play a best of 3 sets match. But for the kids to play a 1-set match in, say, 20 minutes, they can then play multiple more opponents, which is far better. You know, why spend an hour playing a best of 3 sets match when they could play 3 different opponents of 1 set? It's very, very quick sort of style. So for the likes of tournaments, it gives you the option of playing more round-robin events. So you could have groups of 4 that play off, and then the top players maybe go into a knockout and so on. Everyone gets the chance to play more matches because the matches are shorter. So you get more entries, potentially the people who are running the tournaments take in more money, and it's a better experience, I think, for everyone. They're getting, it's more of a mix there. They're getting to play more opponents, and it moves quick. It moves really quick.
Yeah, well, and I guess maybe even more so an emphasis on skill or the mental aspect of tennis, that you've got to really play the chess match because you're already halfway through it.
Well,
kind of thing.
100% focus is required. You cannot afford to switch off for a minute or two, or you could lose 3 games. You lose 6 points in a row and you've lost 3 games in a row. You need 100% focus. And yes, it'll be very interesting to see, hopefully, the top players playing it, to see how they cope with it, how they handle it, how different it is to playing traditional tennis. There will definitely be a different mindset because it's quick, and every second point you play is actually a game point. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
One thing that I didn't mention, if after trialing and so on that they find the match is going too long because you get too many games games that have too many juice add points, because you do occasionally get the odd game that will maybe have 5 or 6 juice add, and so on. So we've created a faster format called 30-30 plus, and that is where you then decide how many juices you will play before you play a sudden death point. So the fastest one of all is you go 40-30 juice, and then you play a no add at that point. That's the fastest one. So that would have a maximum of 3 points per game. So that'd be very quick. I find it quite exciting that you could potentially play a best of 5 sets match using that format in less than an hour, basically, because you're talking about 10 minutes a set, and it makes it really exciting. Every single point counts, but that's a bit quick for me. I like the idea maybe that you say after 3 juices, if the game hasn't been decided, you then play the no add point, the deciding point. But main 30-30, there's no limit. You continue. And I must admit, from my experience and now using it for 5 years, you don't get many sets where you get a lot of games that have lots of multiple juices. My hope is that we'll be able to maintain the 30-30 plus where there's no limit. But there is that option, 30-30 plus. If you've got kids at training and you want to have really quick sets, get them on there, and 3 points a game. Play best of 3 sets in half an hour. Great fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, what's coming down the pipeline? What are you looking forward to in the next 6 months for 30-30?
Yeah, okay. We've branched out, believe it or not. We realised the game of paddle is growing rapidly. It's a sort of combination of tennis and squash. It has glass walls at the back and at the sides, and it's a smaller court than a tennis court, and it's played normally in doubles. You do get singles, but it's mainly doubles. It's very, very popular in Europe, and it's beginning to grow all over the world. It's called paddle, P-A-D-E-L. And in the UK, the number of courts that are going up is getting more and more, and so on. And I think it is going to be hitting the US as well. We realised paddle used the same scoring format as tennis, and we did a bit of investigation and found at the top level, some of the matches do go on 2 hours plus. So we put our heads together and thought, well, why wouldn't 30-30 work for paddle as well as tennis? So we've created 30-30 paddle, and we're rolling that out, and we're speaking to a lot of people, especially in Europe at the moment, that are very interested in potentially holding events. They like the idea of the faster pace, the shorter matches. You can get more people involved, which means more entry fees and all these sort of things. There's money to be made for clubs. In the same time, court time, you could play so many more matches, basically. So paddle has come in, and what we also spotted was that pickleball, obviously in America, pickleball sounds like they're describing it as the fastest growing sport in America. I know it's growing across the world as well. They're planning to try and get it in the Olympics. And we looked up what scoring systems use there, and it's a very old-fashioned scoring system as far as we're concerned. They use it's the old badminton scoring, where you have to be serving to win a point. So sometimes the score can go back and forward, love all, for a long time before the score gets moving. Now, we're talking about 10, 15, 20 years ago, badminton and squash, they did use that format where you had to be scoring to win a point, but they realised the games were lasting too long and they weren't very fast moving in terms of the score. So they went for the point for point scoring, so that every point that's played wins a point. And it makes their overall game shorter, their overall matches shorter. It's shorter and faster paced. And we also noticed that pickleball is still very much in its early infancy. And we believe there's some experiment going on with the scoring format and so on. And we thought, 30-30 pickleball, why not? A lot of people that are picking up pickleball are people that have played tennis. They're maybe a bit older now. So it would make the transition a lot more seamless. And the scoring format will work just as well in pickleball as it will for tennis and so on. So yeah, we've been trying to roll out 30-30 pickleball. We've got logos created for all three now. I had one for the tennis, but we now have a similar one for paddle, similar one for pickleball. Just really changing the bat and changing the pickleball. It's obviously a plastic ball with holes in it. So yeah, going forward, we are hitting 30-30 on three fronts. And yeah, we were speaking to a lot of people. We're quite excited on the way it's going. And yeah, the beauty of it is it resembles traditional tennis. We're not changing anything significantly. The score line will still look the same. If you look back in 50 years' time and the match was 1-6, 4-6, 2-6, 3, it still looks like traditional tennis, but it was 30-30 tennis. It's not going to be things like 4-2, 4-1 like fast four, and it's not going to be time tennis. Time tennis, we feel, just doesn't work. You get towards the end of the 8 minutes, if someone's leading by 2 or 3 points and you're going into the last minute, they'll start stalling, putting time off. You're not going to create set points or match points. You're looking at the clock running down. So we don't think time tennis is the best way to improve tennis, basically. So yeah, we have big dreams. We have big dreams with this, and we think we've got something. Yeah. So
yeah, no, that's really exciting. So how can people follow 3030? How can they, on your website, is there a way to get in touch, or what are steps for anyone listening that wants to get involved?
Yeah, anyone who is on social media, if you just search for 3030, so that's THIRTY, 30 in letters, followed by 30, all one word. You'll find 3030 on Instagram, 3030 on Twitter, 3030 on Facebook, and 3030 in LinkedIn. And the website is very simple. It's www.3030tennis.com. We've only got the tennis one up and running at the moment. We've bought the rights to 30-30 paddle and 30-30 pickleball as well. These websites will be getting linked in the future. So yeah, search there. You can do a contact through the website and so on. And yeah, you'll see quite often posting about what the latest news is and who's using it and so on. And just, yeah, anyone try it. That's all we're asking. Just try it. And I would not go back now. It's fantastic in 1 hour to play a 3-set match, and virtually every time you'll get a winner. You will get the best of 3 sets match finished. And yeah, it's so much faster. The change of ends also helps because you've doubled it up. There's less change of ends per set. So that makes your time on court spent more efficiently. You actually spend by a factor of 2 less change of ends when you're changing ends after 2 and then every 4. So again, that condenses it as well. Rather than changing ends after 1 game and then every 2 games, you've got twice as many change of ends. And it works really well for doubles, because once you've done the first 2 games, the next sets of 4 games, all 4 players serve before you change ends. And so I think it works really well in doubles. Obviously in doubles at the moment, 2 players will serve, you change ends, and then you serve from the other end. But all 4 players will serve before changing ends after your initial 2 games. So yeah, no, we're quite excited about it, actually.
Yeah, no, it sounds amazing. Like I said, I'm gonna tell my aunt, and tennis is definitely something I've wanted to pick up. I actually bought a racket last year trying to get into it, and I feel like this is even like a great place to start, and might be just what I like doing. So I'm even excited. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on and telling us all about it. And we'll put all of those links to connect in the show notes. So go follow, and like Mark said, try it out, leave a review, and get in touch. And just thanks again for your time today, for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Actually, I appreciate you having us. Thanks very much.